I still remember the day my world shattered into a million pieces. I was 22, 8 months pregnant, and the man I loved walked out the door without even a goodbye. No note, no explanation. Just the echo of the door slamming behind him. From that moment, it was only me and my unborn daughter against the world. Raising Ayesha alone wasn't just hard. It was a daily war. I worked 2 jobs. Mornings at a small tailoring shop stitching clothes for rich ladies who never looked me in the eye, and nights cleaning offices until my hands bled. I skipped meals so Ayesha could eat fresh milk and fruit. When she got feverish at night, I would walk 3 kilometers to the nearest clinic because I couldn't afford a rickshaw. But every sacrifice was worth it the first time she called me Ami with that bright, trusting smile. I promised myself I would give her the life I never had. No father? Fine. I would be both mother and father. I taught her to read by candlelight when the electricity bill was overdue. I stitched her school uniform myself and stayed up late helping her with homework even when my eyes burned with exhaustion. People in our neighborhood whispered, "Poor girl, raising a child alone. What will become of her daughter?" I heard the pity in their voices, but I turned it into fuel. Ayesha grew up kind, strong, and beautiful, like a flower blooming in concrete. She topped her class every year. When she got a scholarship to college, I cried for hours in the bathroom so she wouldn't see my tears of joy. Those years shaped us. We became a team of 2. Late night talks about her dreams, sharing 1 plate of biryani when money was tight, laughing through the struggles. I never told her much about her father. What was there to say? He left us. End of story, or so I thought. Aisha was 24 when she brought Bilal home. He was polite, well-mannered, and looked at my daughter like she hung the stars. His family was wealthy. His father, Mr. Farhan, owned several factories and carried himself with the arrogance that money often brings. At first, I was overjoyed. Finally, my daughter would have the security I could never fully provide. The engagement was a simple affair at our small home. I cooked everything myself. Biryani, here, fresh parathas. Mr. Farhan barely touched the food. He kept glancing around our modest living room with a faint smirk, as if our happiness was somehow beneath him. But Ayesha was glowing. She whispered to me at night, "Ami, he makes me feel safe. Like I finally have a complete family." Those words both warmed and broke my heart. I had tried so hard to be enough, but every child wants both parents. I swallowed my pride and welcomed Bilal's family with open arms. Wedding preparations began in full swing. I sold my mother's gold bangles. The last valuable thing I owned to contribute. I stayed awake for nights stitching Aisha's bridal lehenga with my own hands, adding tiny mirrors and pearls so she would shine like a queen. Bilal's family handled the big expenses, but I wanted my daughter to know her Ami was part of her big day. Everything seemed perfect until the week before the wedding. Strange phone calls started coming at odd hours. Someone asking for me in a voice I almost recognized. I brushed it off as pre-wedding nerves. Little did I know, the past was about to crash into our present like a storm. The wedding day arrived like a dream wrapped in fairy lights. The hall was grand. Crystal chandeliers, fresh flowers everywhere, and hundreds of guests in their finest clothes. Ayesha looked breathtaking in the red lehenga I had poured my heart into. As I adjusted her dupatta one last time, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for everything, Ami. Today we become a bigger family." The ceremony began. I sat in the front row, dressed simple but elegant sari I had saved for years. My eyes never left my daughter's radiant face. Then came the moment for family introductions. Monsieur Farhan stood up, microphone in hand, smiling for the cameras. But his eyes were cold when they landed on me. "Today we welcome a new daughter," he announced smoothly. "But let's be honest, some people come from nothing. It's a miracle she even made it this far." The hall fell into awkward silence. My cheeks burned, but I stayed quiet for Ayesha's sake. Then he turned directly to me. "You think you're equal here? Raising a child alone doesn't make you a hero, it makes you." Before I could react, he grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it straight into my face. Gasps erupted. Water dripped down my saree, my carefully styled hair ruined. Ayesha screamed, "Abuji, what are you doing?" Bilal looked shocked but didn't move immediately. Whispers spread like wildfire. How dare she show her face? Single mother, after all. I sat there drenched, humiliation burning hotter than any fire. In that moment, something inside me snapped. Years of silent struggle, of protecting my daughter from the truth, of swallowing pain, Everything rose up. I stood slowly, water still dripping from my chin, and looked Mr. Farhan dead in the eyes. So I was the one hiding the truth all along, I said. My voice steady and clear, carrying through the microphone that someone had dropped nearby. The entire hall went dead silent. Mr. Farhan's face turned pale. 25 years ago, I continued, I was young and in love with a man named Farhan Ahmed. He promised me marriage, a beautiful life. When I told him I was pregnant, he disappeared, changed his number, changed his city. I was left alone, disgraced by my own family, forced to start over with nothing but a baby in my belly. I turned to Ayesha, who was staring at me in shock. Tears were already falling down her cheeks. Bilal is your half-brother, Ayesha. Mr. Farhan is your real father. The man who abandoned us. Chaos exploded. Bilal stumbled back. Mr. Farhan tried to deny it, but I pulled out the old photographs I had kept hidden for decades. Photos I had planned never to show. One showed a much younger Farhan with his arm around me. Another showed the letters he had written promising the world. I never told you, Beta, I said to Ayesha, my voice breaking for the first time, because I wanted you to have a clean future. I suffered alone so you wouldn't have to carry the weight of abandonment. I raised you with love, not bitterness. But today, when this man humiliated the woman who kept his secret for 25 years, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Security had to step in as arguments broke out. Mr. Farhan's wife, Bilal's mother, looked devastated, piecing together the timeline of her own marriage. Guests whispered in disbelief. Cameras that were meant to capture joy now recorded a family's darkest secret. Ayesha ran to me, sobbing into my wet shoulder. Ami, you did all this alone? For me, the wedding stopped that day, but something more powerful began. In the weeks that followed, truth brought both pain and healing. Bilal was angry at his father but chose to stand by Ayesha, not as a lover, but as the protective older brother she never knew she had. DNA tests confirmed everything. Mr. Farhan, cornered by his own family and the fear of social ruin, finally admitted his cowardice. He offered money, property, everything. But I refused most of it. I don't want your guilt money, I told him in a private meeting. I want my daughter to know she was never a mistake, she was my greatest victory. Ayesha eventually found love again, with a kind man who respected her past and admired her mother. Their wedding, a smaller and more intimate one, happened 6 months later. This time, I walked her down the aisle with my head held high. No one threw water, only tears of joy and respect. Today, I run a small tailoring business that has grown beyond my dreams. Ayesha visits every weekend with her new husband and Bilal, who has become the brother she always deserved. The pain of that humiliating day became the catalyst for our real freedom. I raised my daughter alone. I endured the worst humiliation on her happiest day. But in the end, truth and love won. If you're a single parent watching this, know this, your sacrifices are never invisible. Your strength is writing a story far more powerful than any fairy tale. Never be ashamed of your journey. One day, it will speak louder than any insult ever could. The days following the wedding disaster felt like living inside a thunderstorm that refused to end. Our small home, once filled with laughter and wedding planning notes, became a battlefield of emotions. Ayesha locked herself in her room for 2 full days, crying and refusing to eat. I sat outside her door every night, softly telling her stories from her childhood. The ones where we turned empty cupboards into games and power cuts into storytelling sessions. Bilal came the 3rd day. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. Auntie, I mean Ami, he said, voice cracking. I don't know what to call you anymore, but I know one thing, you're the strongest woman I've ever met. He sat with us for hours, listening as I explained the painful details I had hidden for so long. How his father had promised marriage, how he vanished the moment responsibility came, and how I changed my city and name to start fresh. Mr. Farhan tried calling countless times. I blocked every number. His wife, Mrs. Nadia, visited unannounced one evening. She was a graceful woman, clearly broken. I had no idea, she whispered, tears streaming. He told me he was a widower before our marriage. We talked for hours like 2 women who had both been betrayed by the same man. By the end she hugged me. Not as an enemy, but as a fellow survivor. The video of the water-throwing incident had leaked on social media. People were divided. Some called me a gold digger trying to ruin a rich family. Others hailed me as a hero single mother. Comments poured in, respect for raising your daughter alone, and that man deserves jail. It was overwhelming, but it also brought unexpected support from strangers who shared their own single-parent struggles. I finally agreed to meet Mr. Farhan in a neutral cafe far from both our homes. He looked older, smaller, and terrified. The arrogant man from the wedding hall was gone. I was young and stupid, he admitted, staring into his untouched coffee. My parents pressured me into marrying Nadia for business reasons. I convinced myself you and the child would be fine. Every year I thought about searching for you. But fear stopped me. I looked him straight in the eyes, the same eyes Ayesha had inherited. Fear, I lived with fear every single day. Fear that Ayesha would get sick and I couldn't afford medicine. Fear that she would ask about her father and I would have no answer. You didn't just abandon a woman, you abandoned your own blood. He broke down crying in public. For the first time in 25 years, I saw genuine regret. He wanted to make amends, pay for Ayesha's future, transfer property, publicly apologize. I accepted only what would help my daughter's education and nothing more for myself. Money can't buy back the years, I told him. But truth can heal. Ayesha met him a week later. The meeting was emotional and raw. She shouted, cried, and finally hugged the father she never knew. I hate what you did, she said, but I'm tired of carrying anger. Ami taught me to be strong, not bitter. Life slowly found a new rhythm. Ayesha decided to take a break from marriage plans. Instead, she focused on her career in teaching, something she always wanted but had put aside for the wedding. Bilal became a regular visitor. He helped repair things around the house, brought groceries, and treated me like the mother he wished he had known earlier. I used the sudden attention, from the viral video, to start something new. A local women's group invited me to speak about single parenting. My story inspired many. Soon I was running small tailoring workshops for divorced and widowed women, teaching them skills so they could become independent. The money wasn't huge, but the purpose filled my heart. One evening, Ayesha found me stitching quietly. Ami, you never remarried, you never even dated. Why? I smiled sadly, because I poured all my love into you, and honestly, after what happened, I was scared to trust again. But watching you grow made every lonely night worth it. We started a new tradition, Sunday dinners with Bilal and sometimes Mrs. Nadia. Mr. Farhan was kept at a distance. Trust takes time. The wounds were healing, but scars remained as reminders. 6 months after the incident, another bombshell dropped. While sorting old documents for a bank loan, I discovered papers my late mother had hidden. My own father, whom I thought had died poor, had left behind a significant piece of ancestral land in another city. The property had been disputed for years, but with proper legal help, funded partly by the settlement from Mr. Farhan, it was now ours. The land was valuable. Developers wanted it for a housing project. Suddenly, after decades of struggle, we had real financial security. I used part of the money to buy a small house in a better neighborhood and set up a proper tailoring boutique with a training center for underprivileged girls. Ayesha couldn't believe it. All these years we struggled. And this was waiting? I laughed through tears. Life has strange timing, Beta. The water thrown in my face at your first wedding led us to the truth. And the truth led us to this new chapter. Bilal helped us move. He had grown closer to Ayesha as a brother, even helping her screen potential suitors with protective big brother energy. One young man, a school principal named Hassan, stood out. He respected my story, admired my journey, and most importantly, saw Ayesha for who she was, not her complicated family background. Ayesha's real wedding took place 1 year after the disastrous first attempt. It was intimate, filled with close friends, family who had stood by us, and the new women from my tailoring center. No grand hall this time. Just our new home decorated with flowers we grew ourselves. I walked my daughter down the aisle again, but this time with peace in my heart. Mr. Farhan attended quietly in the back row. He didn't speak much, but his presence was his apology. Mrs. Nadia sat with me, holding my hand during the ceremony. Bilal gave a heartfelt speech welcoming Ayesha as his sister and thanking me for showing him what real strength looks like. As I watched Ayesha and Hassan exchange vows, I felt complete. The girl I raised alone was now a woman with a loving husband, a caring brother, and a mother who never gave up. To everyone watching my story. If you're a single parent, know that your silent battles are seen. The nights you cry alone, the sacrifices no one claps for. They matter. Never let anyone humiliate you for your journey. Your children will rise because of your courage. I raised my daughter alone. I faced public shame on what should have been her happiest day, but that pain became our greatest turning point. Today, we are stronger, wiser, and finally at peace. Thank you for being part of our journey. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. Your support means the world to mothers like me. The first few months after Aisha's beautiful wedding felt strangely quiet. For 25 years my life had revolved around protecting and raising my daughter. Now she was happily married and living just 20 minutes away with Hassan. I would visit them often, carrying homemade sweets and the love I had stored in my heart for decades. But emptiness crept in during lonely evenings. The new house felt big. My boutique was doing well, training 20 girls every month, yet something was missing. One night, while sorting old photo albums, I found a picture of myself at Aisha's age, pregnant, scared, but determined. That girl had survived. Now it was time for her to truly live. Bilal became a constant support. He started calling me Ami openly and helped manage the legal paperwork for the ancestral land. Slowly, Mr. Farhan also tried to rebuild some connection. He attended family dinners quietly, listening more than speaking. One evening he told Aisha, "Your mother is the real hero of this story. I was just a coward who ran away." Hearing those words from him brought a strange sense of closure. Hassan proved to be a wonderful son-in-law. He respected my independence and often said, "Ami, the way you raised Aisha taught me what real love looks like." Their home filled with laughter, and soon, the news we had all been waiting for arrived. Aisha was pregnant. The pregnancy brought new joy and new fears. Aisha worried about becoming a mother. I moved in with them for the last 2 months, cooking her favorite meals, rubbing her swollen feet, and sharing every piece of wisdom I had gathered through years of single parenting. When my grandson, little Ahmed, was born, the entire family gathered at the hospital. Bilal was there holding balloons. Mrs. Nadia cried happy tears, and even Mr. Farhan stood outside the room, emotional. As I held Ahmed for the first time, I whispered, "You will never know the struggles your grandmother faced, and that is my greatest success." The viral video of my story had now crossed millions of views. Messages flooded in from single mothers across Pakistan and even from other countries. I decided to expand my work. With help from the land money and donations from kind viewers, I opened Aisha's Haven, a small center offering free tailoring training, counseling, and legal help for single mothers and abandoned women. The center became my new purpose. Every morning I taught skills with the same hands that once stitched clothes at night to feed my daughter. Stories poured in. Women who reminded me of my younger self. I told them, "Your pain is real, but your power is greater." Just when life seemed peaceful, a new challenge arrived. The developers who wanted our ancestral land tried to cheat us with false documents. A big company with political connections put pressure on us to sell at a low price. For weeks we fought in offices and courts. Old fears returned. Would I lose everything I had built for Aisha and Ahmed again? This time I wasn't alone. Aisha stood beside me, strong and educated. Bilal used his business network. Hassan helped with paperwork. Even Mr. Farhan, wanting to prove he had changed, used his old contacts to expose the corruption. During one stressful hearing, I stood in court and spoke clearly. I raised my daughter with empty pockets and full love. I will not let powerful people take away what we earned through tears. The judge ruled in our favor. We sold part of the land at a fair price and used the money to expand Aisha's Havens into a bigger facility with a daycare for working mothers. That victory taught me something important. Strength is not just surviving alone. It is knowing when to accept help and building a community that lifts each other up. On Ahmed's first birthday, we organized a big family gathering at the new center. What started as a simple party turned into something much deeper. Mr. Farhan stood up in front of everyone and publicly apologized. Not just to me, but to all the single mothers present. "I wasted 25 years of my daughter's life," he said with a trembling voice. "Today I want to support the women my actions once hurt." He donated a large sum to the center and promised to fund scholarships for girls who wanted to study further. Aisha hugged both of us. Her Ami and her father. Bilal brought his new wife, who had heard the whole story and still chose to join this complicated but loving family. As we cut the cake, I looked around the room filled with women who had found hope, my grown daughter, grandson playing happily, and the family we had rebuilt from broken pieces. Tears flowed freely, but they were tears of gratitude. I finally forgave Mr. Farhan, not for him, but for my own peace. The man who once threw water in my face now helped carry gifts for my grandson. Today, 5 years after that humiliating wedding day, my life looks nothing like I imagined. Aisha is a happy mother and teacher. Ahmed calls me daddy, with the sweetest voice. The center has helped over 300 women start their own small businesses. I still stitch clothes sometimes, but now it's for pleasure, not survival. The road was long and painful. I raised my daughter alone through poverty, loneliness, and society's judgment. I faced public humiliation at her first wedding, but every sacrifice led me here. To a place where pain turned into purpose, abandonment turned into a bigger family, and weakness turned into unstoppable strength. To every single parent watching this, your late nights matter. Your silent tears are seen by the universe. Keep going. Your children are watching, and one day they will understand. Don't hide your truth forever. When the right moment comes, let it speak. It might break some things, but it will build something far more beautiful. Never let anyone throw water on your dignity. Stand up. Speak your truth. Build your haven. This is not just my story anymore. It belongs to every mother who refused to break. Thank you for staying with me through all 15 sections of this journey. If this story gave you hope, strength, or even a few tears, please share it. Like, comment your own experiences below, and subscribe for more real-life emotional stories.